Looks like it's that one. We're certain that I lived there. Wow. My mother, she used to just stand there and stare out the window. Sit on the front and the side. And then every once in a while, she'd turn back and look at me like this, like she was trying to figure out the plot of a movie in advance. Basically, what she was doing was making up her mind that I had to go, you know? Otherwise, she'd be locked in that house forever. These are the genius people that do their genius thing.
That's ready for him.
I'm all right.
Okay, we'll get him in his shirt and his pants.
When do you want to use a torture?
Well, you know, I'm missing a layer of skin. How many times have we done this? Over 1,000?
Oh. Easy. The shelves of all the molds. You have one just devoted to all of your characters.
You know, they say there's some people that you can't make look like anybody. Like, you just can't make them look like somebody else. And then me, Louis told me that you can make me look like anybody because my face is so bland.
I love this candidate.
You can run, but you can't hide.
I had panic attacks.
Keep it rolling, I'm on a roll.
Life itself is not fair.
NBC and I agreed on a new deal.
Battle of the sexes.
Absolutely astounding.
We appear nude or semi-nude.
Tippecanoe and Tyler, too. All over my naked body.
Into the hands of terrorists.
I can read Trebek.
Just a boring guy. My God, he can talk like other people.
This is so exciting. You know him, he's the longest running cast member in Saturday Night Live history. Give it up for Darrell Hammond, everybody.
You know, I wrote a book called God, If You're Not Up There, I'm Fucked, based on my career as a life coach. I'm kidding you, I'm kidding you. It is a funny title, isn't it? It originated in a jail cell. I know I'm the SNL guy and I played all the presidents and all that shit. But I was in jail. When I say I did shit that was crazy, I'm not writing jokes. I used to drink absinthe in this enormous bar called Mexico. Mexico is for advanced partiers only. I mean, really, you should know what you're doing. I mean, they have shit there that will kill you for under $1. Do you understand? You'd be dead and not break a 5.
He is a master of impressions and comedy, and he's an author, too. Think about all your performances on Saturday Night Live. You're so in control. All the acclaim and how brilliant you were on there. You know, I mean, appearances are deceiving.
They would be shocked, I think, people to hear about your life because besides the drugs, the alcohol, you had this horrific, horrible childhood.
There's a story here about a karaoke night in the psych ward.
Nut House?
In the Nut House, yeah. Karaoke night. What?
Well, I went to the best nut house I was ever in.
This is amazingly courageous. This is not an easy book to have revisited the things that you revisited.
I have never gotten the signature thing down, you know, like the cool signature. It's a national...
National Children's Advocacy Center, and this is the county chapter.
Oh, I would have made my dad very happy.
All right.
All set?
You speak at about 12:45, and you've got about 50 minutes. And then you do a quick handshake on the stage with the chairman, and then we're done.
One time I went to the hospital when I was, I guess, 6 years old in Cocoa Beach or Cocoa, Florida, and I had abdominal injuries, internal bleeding. And you know, the doctor came out and he said, you know, Miss Hammond, what in the world? This child looks like he was hit by a battering ram. Did you not see a battering ram? How is he not... why is your son bleeding on the inside of his stomach? You know? And my mom said, I don't know. I have no idea. I was inside, he got a new bicycle, I think he fell on his bike. That's where we start our story.
The play, it started mostly with Darrell first locked in a room, writing.
Say Darrell at center stage. I would not allow either my mother, or my father to touch me. Try to imagine the fury of a 3-year-old. I used to sit in our little one-story house on Wisteria Drive, overwhelmed with the sense that I was surrounded by evil.
I like the idea that, like, you feel like you're surrounded by evil. Just in terms of keeping it focused and concentrated, I'm fine if, you know.
There was some talk about turning the book into a stage show, and I had really loved the book.
39 years old, on lithium, just a drug.
How do we craft an extraordinary 90 minutes on stage of telling the story?
I hear stories that changed my life. Changed my whole life. When someone came to me and said, hey, if you write this book and you might help one person, would you do it? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, wouldn't you? When the sun started to go down in the late afternoon, I was filled with foreboding. Everything was scary. The walls, the furniture, the rug, the very air was scary. Outside, the trees, the grass, the asphalt on the driveway seemed alive and threatening. I had to make it through the night until our maid Murtis arrived in the morning. Spent many afternoons here with Murtis. I'd just be out here with her. She'd sit, I'd sit in her lap. Feel good, and then she'd have to go home. And I'd feel bad. There's like a million snakes in here. Give me that stick. Not like I don't have any training at this. But you can't kill them with it. Just flip them and run. I don't remember moccasins back here, but there were cottonmouths and coral snakes. You imagine? Being a little kid, it's like a snake every day. So you're a parent. Your kid is sitting on the railroad tracks. And you're like, so? I used to think about if I could teach myself how to cry, then people that wanted to hurt me wouldn't hurt me because it would take the fun out of it for him. He's already hurt. One day, I decided I would run away from home when my father passed by in his green pickup truck and saw me. He said, "What the hell are you doing, son? Get in the truck." I climbed up in the truck. He's like, "You're a crazy ass son of a bitch, ain't you?" I was like, "I guess." Probably. "Yeah, I guess I am." I got a mule, his name is Sal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. He's a good old worker and a good old pal. Pick 'em up and lay 'em down, right all the way to Judgment Town. Learn. What's up, son?
Come on in here, man. We have bonds that you can't explain, I suppose. I'll be 62 years old. We've known each other since we were 13, 14 years old. He was a great baseball player. He was a famous guy down there, and he dominated.
Remember C.P. Yarborough?
Oh, are you kidding?
I fantasize when I want to calm myself down or make myself feel better. I fantasize about going two for two off him.
Or hitting his curveball?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hit 2 doubles one night.
Yeah.
And I to me, life's not going to be better. I'm not going to be better. I'm not going to be better at a task than the night I stepped in there and hit 2-line drive doubles off of C.P. Yarborough.
This is Crane Creek here.
My father knew I was going in Crane Creek. He'd have lost his fucking mind. Lost his mind. How freaky.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Larry, we could hit
If you hit it out toward the buildings, it was a bomb.
That's like a 450, 480-foot home run as a kid. I didn't tell you I ran into Clint Hurdle in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you did. You told me that.
I was like, Darrell Hammond. He's like, I'm like, Saturday Night Live. He's like, I go, Max Hammond coached you. He's like, oh, Max.
He loved baseball. And that's what made him a good coach. He had passion for the game. My dad was the same way. And he loved it. So when he spoke about it with a reverence that made you listen.
Like it was church.
Yeah.
Hit some bitch right before it drops. That's the ball. It's going up on that roof. That's the ball that's gone. That's gone. Gone, and I would go, gone. Wow. That must be heaven. I'd rather hit a ball that was gone than just about anything. I mean, people say, how come you're funny? I think it's because of him. He's a funny motherfucker. I mean, like, this is a quote. I called him on the phone once. I said, Dad, I don't really understand women, and I don't know what to do. And he said, you know, son, you can't escape the human condition. Sooner or later, you're going to fall in love. There's going to be a spring in your step and a song in your heart. And sooner or later, you're going to want to take that same bitch and cleave her skull with a McCullough chainsaw. I know he woke up screaming sometimes. You know, he saw stuff that didn't go away. And then after a while, he didn't want it to go away. Or I'd be sleeping or trying to sleep. He'd come over and punch the door. The explosion was deafening. So my bedroom door and my sister's bedroom door, they put these little aluminum squares on them. My dad did. You know, there was like 4 holes in the door, so you put 4 aluminum squares, and that night there's 3 more. And you put 3 more. The next day there's 2 more. I mean, the doors just had holes in them, you know, from this guy. It was just out of his mind with rage. He'd go in the bedroom and come out with a German Luger, and sometimes he'd come out with a baseball mitt. I started saving my lunch money to buy booze from a guy called Leland the Perv. Leland was always worried, I'm gonna get me some beef, I'm gonna get me some dry. He always seemed to have a dab of mayonnaise at the corner of his mouth. Anyway, he'd sell me a bottle of vodka and I'd sit in the closet of my bedroom, the only place I had any privacy in our house.
I think pussy and strange need to be a little bit more forward and just a little clearer, or I think we won't understand the words.
Do we want to put a dab of mayonnaise at the corner of his mouth, misshapen head, before I'm gonna get me some pussy? Or does it matter?
Pardon me, Mrs. Cow. Will you kindly get off the track?
Every time I've ever done a character, I color code that person. And yet, for instance, at SNL, there were 117 or something, plus the 300 other ones I learned that never made it onto the show. I always color coded them, but I never color coded them red. Margaret, that subbitch is doing it again. He's talking like Porky the goddamn pig. Max, he's a normal boy. No, Margaret, he's not normal. He sounds exactly like Porky the fucking pig. I walked by the door, I thought the TV was on, and that subbitch is sitting there talking like Porky the pig. Right there on the couch. Margaret, I think some bitch is queer. I don't know what is wrong with that child. It was the first time a healthcare professional would stare at me with that strange mixture of fear and pity. She had never seen a creature like me.
The scarcity of convolutions on the frontal lobe as compared to that of the normal brain. All of these degenerate characteristics check amazingly with the case history of the dead man before us, whose life was one of brutality, of violence and murder.
I never saw anyone like you in my entire life. There's something wrong with you. Why, when I first met you, I thought about clumping you on the nose. Huh?
You just turn into the town sheriff.
No, the town sheriff would not. He would never be from another country, would he?
No, that's true.
First flashback. There is a floating red ball of light. This odd image produced a terror in me. And the terror would only stop if I cut my wrist. It basically creates a manageable crisis. I've got to attend to this blood, and the other image will go away. I was living at home with my parents. I had no dreams, no future, no money, no friends, drinking all the time, cutting all the time. A psychiatrist, I think it was number 11, said that I was a manic depressive and a schizophrenic. My mother was not dismayed by the news. Indeed, her demeanor sort of brightened, and she said, "Is that like a chemical imbalance?"
Sylvester, what are you? A manic depressive or something?
Yeah, well, what can we do about that? Doc says, well, I'll just give him these pills. That's right. And then we'll lock him up here for a while, and that'll be just fine. What I did in that whole year was practice voices all night. I broke each person or character down. Where's the guy from? How old is he? Is he educated? Does he have a dialect? Did he lose his accent over time? Is his voice high or low? Where does it originate, in the throat, back or front? A year later, I got a job at a radio station doing character voices. I saw Truman Capote on stage when I was but a pup. He was famous for being proud of his homosexuality and also his effeminate voice, and he was a tiny little guy. He got up on stage and he read a story. After it was over, they had a question and answer session, and a brute of an alpha male steps up and says, "Are you a homosexual?" He pauses for exactly the right amount of time and goes, "Is that a proposition?" And the place went nuts. And the hair stood up on my neck. I was like, God damn, I have to have that. I gotta find a way to get that. I started working at the Skyline Motor Inn on 10th Avenue. There were these Irish boys that were my customers, and I thought they were the nicest boys I ever met. And I found out one day that they cut guys up. that they chopped dudes up. They were 12 guys, the FBI said most savage gang in the history of New York. They were just these nice boys. And they used to say to me, Darrell, do Rodney, Darrell. Darrell, do Rodney Dangerfield, Darrell. And I'd be up there going, I'll tell you since I've been killed, nobody wants me around. I did Popeye, having sex with olive oil. I'm so embarrassed to say it. That's, you know, just... I try out for this famous club. I get up there, it's the break of a lifetime, I kill. I mean, I'm on my way. And I sat down there and I was happy. The owner, he said, look at these pictures. Sandler, Murphy, Billy Crystal, all of these people up on the wall, Chris Farley. He goes, these people are what we're about. We're about stars. These people have it. And I don't think you have it.
Well, well, well.
I'm a big Eddie Murphy fan, but you know what? This never happened to me. I had like Eddie Murphy fever. It's like everything started sounding to me like Eddie Murphy. We turned on the television set and we were watching the news and the newscaster was talking to me, but it was coming out like, anybody remember like a few weeks ago out in Los Angeles and shit, had all them earthquakes and everything? That shit was scary, made me crazy. I had nightmares about that motherfucker.
Lauren and I went to the cellar and we saw Darrell. He showed such dexterity of movement and such precision.
He was masterful. He knew what he was doing up there. He had a clear sort of style and point of view, and he was really funny.
To say it's intimidating to audition for Saturday Night Live is one of the century's great understatements. I walked onto that stage in front of Lorne Michaels, and I almost said, look, I'm 39 years old and I'm on lithium, which is a drug they give to decrease abnormal activity in the brain, like in my brain. And is there like a trap door? Can I greased body shoot? Cause I don't, no? Whew. All right, I start thinking to myself, all right, Pee Wee Herman is green.
The Pee Wee Herman is green, and it's to yourself, and don't center yourself until you get to the quote.
Pee Wee Herman is green. Pee Wee Herman is green. Okay, Pee Wee Herman. Look, lady, I like you. Like you. Daffy Duck. You, sir, are despicable. Lauren is like picking at some invisible lint on his jacket. Richard Dreyfuss, you're going to let this particular problem swim up behind you and bite you in the ass. Ted Koppel is blue. See my hiney, big and shiny, makes you giggle to see it wiggle. I'm not proposing marriage. You don't have to think about it, just nod. And now I look over at Lauren, and his head is like a hawk focused on something that has suddenly interested him. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. If you would only take your clothes off and let me see you naked, there would be no more racism. Appreciate your hard work, America. And now all the colors at one time, sir. Free at last, free at last. Great God Almighty, we are free at last. And then Lauren looks at me and he goes, can you do Clinton again? I got the gig.
Darrell Hammond. Welcome back to Hardball. I'm Chris Matthews. The only security the Office of Homeland Security provides is the security of knowing that I can't go outside without browning my pants. When I get scared, I shout. And when I shout, I get scared.
I find myself doing Darrell Hammond doing me.
That's weird, and that just can't be true.
How do you know that I'm running out of breath every time I say anything? Because that's how you do that. You have I got a limited air supply, and you seem to know when I'm running out.
Well, it's the sense that something has startled you into fury so quickly that you haven't had a chance to respond to it with your cardiovascular system. So I was like, I can't take it. So.
You don't know this about Saturday Night Live, but if you don't have an idea, you're not gonna be on the show. I mean, I'm in my office one night, it's like 5 o'clock in the fucking morning. All right, and I'm working on an impression of Sean Connery, and I'm doing these lines from the movie The Untouchable. You know, like, Mr. Ness, I am just a poor beat cop. I'm practicing. Will Ferrell is across the hall. He's working on Alex Trebek from Jeopardy. Now, I don't know why I did this, but I turned to him and I said,
Not a fan of the ladies, are you, Trebek?
This is the sound a doggy makes. Mr. Connery.
Moo.
No.
Well, that's the sound your mother made last night.
I'll take anal bum cover for $7,000.
Oh, that's an album cover, not anal bum cover.
it wasn't supposed to be funny, because who would believe that Sean Connery is stupid? And why does he hate Alex Trebek?
Whatever he needed out of the character, and he would go, I'm having trouble with this guy. I hear like a different accent of there's a South Carolina, but then he got schooled in the, it'd be things. Also, he sees things in colors too, so sometimes we'll go, this guy sounds a little yellowy.
Rather than squander the surplus on a risky tax cut for the wealthy, I would put it in what I call a lockbox.
Al Gore's campaign aides actually show him the tapes of you doing Al Gore on SNL.
I graduated college with a 2.1 average. And I remember when I was in the Oval Office thinking, how does someone with a 2.1 average ever get into this room, into the Oval Office? And then I thought, maybe one day there will be someone, maybe even a president.
Rebuilding Iraq's going to cost money, a lot of money, perhaps as much as $1,700 billion.
I like doing the colorful dudes, I like doing Sharpton, Clinton, Sharpton. You want to do Sharpton?
Do a little Sharp. When I was a kid, I grew up in Brooklyn. I would come home from school, and my mother would make blueberry pie. I would sneak some of the pie. She would say, did you sneak pie? That's how I feel about Republicans. They say, oh, no, we didn't wreck the economy, but they got blueberry all over the place. They were the ones eating the pie.
Do you feel like you are, no matter where you are, what you do, somebody wants to hear a voice?
Yes.
Does that, it's a compliment, but does it also, it's like a musician when they see you, they want you to sing.
Let's talk about playing President Clinton for 14 years and how obsessed planet Earth is with him and not with me. A co-ed comes up to me after the show, follows me to my car, a co-ed, and says, and this, by the way, exactly how she said it, exactly what she sounded like. She goes, Mr. Hammond, I will so show you my breasts if you will do President Clinton for me. And I said, young lady, that is so sick. That is so damn sick.
After a while, when you heard the real president, he didn't quite sound right.
Before we reached the dining room, the president reached out and tried to kiss me. He lifted his hand and put it on my breast, and then my hand to his penis. That is hot! Jackie Collins, my ass. Oh, and I actually did all that. I mean, I didn't, but Julia Roberts was God's first try at making you. I swear to God. Felonious, how we do?
What's up, man?
Do you want to come in?
Yes, I do.
Do you want some? Can I get you something to drink or something?
Well, do you have a Coca-Cola or something?
So Darrell said you called him a shapeshifter. Is that true?
Yes, he is a shapeshifter.
What does that mean exactly?
It means that you will be okay because you can shift away when it's too freaky or too scary.
Oh.
You can just zone and do what you have to do.
So it's not like I'm doing some cheap impression and shit.
Of a shapeshifter? No.
I mean, you overcame shit too, you know.
What choice do we have?
What are you gonna do?
I mean, it's not like there's a lot of, you know.
Good choices. Just keep going.
Yeah, it's either you're dead or you're not.
Yeah, and if you don't feel like being dead,
You gotta come up
You
with
gotta
something.
kind of get your shit together.
Yeah.
I liked being alive. I realized that the closer to death I got.
The cast was going to invite their own mothers down to the show for Mother's Day. And you said, I ain't inviting my mother down. So they said to you, it would be funny if you dressed up as your mother.
Yeah.
You looked in the mirror at yourself dressed up as your mother, and you saw your mother's face.
Yeah.
And you passed out and threw up? And
No, I just threw up and started to have a heart attack. Yeah.
Wow. Literally a heart attack.
Well, they took me to the infirmary, and my pulse, I guess my heart rate was, my blood pressure was up around 200.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah, it's like my brain was saying, rather than become her, I think we'll just pull the plug on the whole thing.
I don't think he knew in the beginning how bad the child abuse was. He knew some bad shit happened to him when he was a kid, but only in flashes and bursts. It wasn't like he was secretive about it. He would discuss it in more of an exploratory way, like, wow, this thing, some bad stuff happened to me.
When he went into a dark place, it always happened off stage.
Lauren helped him get to Hazleton because he's had people die from drugs, so he takes it very seriously.
The part of Darrell that's fragile is sort of my job to protect.
And then shrink number 30 decided I might be a multiple personality. I think he gave it a medical term called multiplicity. Any notes on how to recite all those medications? Or just take your time with each one?
I actually think you want to drive it. I think you want to do, if you can be like super clear, get some speed going and get at least up into third gear. So it's not one at a time, it's...
Elavil, Triavil, Mellaril, Lithium, Depakote, Lamictal, Zyprexa, Abilify, Prozac, Seroquel, Zoloft, Ativan, Klonopin, and Wellbutrin, just on general principle.
A couple of times you had to leave the show.
One time I left in a straitjacket.
How did that occur? I mean, you were doing a rehearsal, or was it during the actual live show you had to leave in a straitjacket?
No, it was during a rehearsal, and I guess I was so disoriented and didn't recognize people in the room.
Was that because you were drinking?
Oh, no, drinking never caused that. No.
It was just a complete mental collapse.
Yeah. I was in my office at SNL and someone was knocking at the door with the palm of their hand because their knocking wasn't sharp. You know, like they were using knuckles, it was more. Everything was red. And I cut myself. The thumping stopped. The red went away. Over the years, as the flash got more intense, because I was getting closer to the truth, cuts got larger and deeper.
When he was cutting himself, I was very concerned because I didn't understand it. When you get into it, you realize people hurt themselves in different ways.
All I said. I've won awards that Walter Cronkite won. I won those awards with cuts on my arm, and some of them were fresh because I would start to have these flashbacks.
When I signed that executive order banning cloning research, it was too late to do anything about an experiment or two that had already been started. But one of them has come in handy in moments like this. Bill, would you mind?
Mr. President, have a seat.
You know what I would like to tell you all about tonight? How much I hate waiting around to see if I'm gonna pinch hit for him today. They used to say to Lorne Michaels, they're like, here's this crazy guy that has been in all these nut houses. He's done more, he's opened your show more times than anyone. The most important turf in comedy. you're entrusting to this crazy person. And he said, danger calms him down somehow.
I think there's a certain group of us that only feel alive when standing on knife point. That level of focus that's required from that brings some people up and tears other people apart. In sports, they'd call him a big game player.
I never believed in God until I saw my daughter born. I had an attitude, yo. I had a fucking attitude my whole life. Like nobody, I know every fucking thing. Until I saw a head. A human head, emerge from someone's body. The love of my daughter and the time that we spent together was making me feel things other people felt. I could leave her and be in a good mood. I never felt anything akin to pure love. In some ways, it was almost searing. The worst thing that ever happened to me was seeing fear in my daughter's eyes. Oh, I hugged her. I was drinking, and she saw it for the first time and didn't recognize the speech pattern, didn't understand the smell. I saw fear in her eyes, and I'd only seen trust and happiness, and that dropped me. I decided that I would do, whatever it took for that to never happen again. I cut myself suicidally for the first and only time in my life. In the fall of 2010, I drank a vat, well, actually it was more like a Rubbermaid garbage can, full of absinthe, and I thought it would be a good idea to saw my arm off with a large kitchen knife. And my friends thought it might be an even better idea if I were locked away in a nut house, and that's kind of what happened. I'm in another ambulance, they're like, there's the guy on fucking TV. I mean, Jesus, don't take any fucking chances with this fucking guy. Put him in a fucking ambulance. For a while now, I'd been feeling sort of like a cow might feel standing in line at the slaughterhouse, just standing there patiently, every once in a while moving a little forward. Like, I knew that my death was coming. I knew what was coming. I was just too tired to care. If you had said, you can find out what happened, but you're gonna get killed, I'd say, I'll do it. I will do it. So I got sent to this big castle upstate where there's this world-famous doctor, and he comes in and he goes, 5 detoxes, yes? I was like, yeah. He was like, 9 psychiatric facilities, including lockdown. I'm like, yeah. He goes, you are schizophrenic, you are bipolar, you are borderline personality, a multiple person. He goes, well, let's face it, you are a nut. He made me laugh. He's like, I'm joking with you because you're not any of these things. You are this way because of something that happened to you. You have a story that's not diagnosed. When I came to in the hospital, I remember I didn't really kind of know where I was. Didn't have any cigarettes or money or anything. He had me for 3 months, saw my every move. I remember saying to him, my brain is broken. He said, what it's telling you to do is to take the aircraft and nosedive it into the ground. So we're going to figure out why. That's where they admit the patients. You can see my room. There's my room right there. Those 2 windows. Nice, huh? What the hell? Come on.
You kept your promise, huh? Happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you.
Because that's the one who had the most cigarette butts.
I thought it was farther, but that's it. That's it right there. There was a woman who told me that she was a prostitute. I asked her if I could bum a cigarette. She said, you sure can, Joe. And I was like, what is this, Joe? And she points to my wristband. It said Joe Monteleone on it. So apparently it checked in as Joe Monteleone. And she was leaning against this tree. And she handed it to me, and I took a drag, handed it back. And I said, thank you so much. And she said, no problem, Joe. And then she thought for a second, and she goes, can you say thank you again? I said, thank you? And she said, yeah. Now say it like Bill Clinton. I don't know how you did it.
It's because he went to many doctors, and then you end up saying, wait a minute here. This is not working. These labels don't make sense to me. And then you start from scratch.
It's also when you can look, I could look at someone and go, oh, wait, he knows. He knows.
I think I was successful in having an attachment, in having shown that I cared and I respected.
To get up inside someone's head and inspect what's in there is not that easy, especially with someone who has never really trusted anyone. It's sort of like when you go to the chiropractor and you're like bracing for him to make the adjustment and you're like, oh, and then he tricks you into relaxing. Sort of like that.
Childhood trauma changes the wiring of the brain. Think of it, someone who has been abused by someone who's supposed to protect them. The logic is gone, and that's how your brain tries to create a new identity, sort of, to be able to tolerate that insult to the brain. And what it manifests is depression, insomnia, irritability, the inability to forge sustainable relationship. Then you start to self-medicate. Alcohol is one, it's legal, but then you go to marijuana, and then you go to benzos, and then before you know it, you go to uppers because you have to go to work, and then you go to downers, you go to the opiates. One of the worst things that I've seen in trauma victims is that they blame themselves. They learn to know that they are bad, because why would they be abused by their protectors? Or they must have done something wrong, especially child trauma.
There were a few things that I remembered. For instance, I remember my hands being slammed in doors. But over the years, in my mind, I thought I did that. The problem must be you.
Right.
It must be you. And in fact, it wasn't me. I was really just a trauma survivor. But I didn't know that, And that was, boy, play any operatic music you want for that moment in your life, and you're like, what? Waiting your whole life to hear that. So thank you. We'll see you again. My soul knew all along what my mind did not let itself know or let me know. The mind is a miraculous creation. My wife got pregnant, baby was born. And then I heard my wife say, your mom called, and she said, hey, as a mommy, you're gonna need some breaks. So she said she would take the baby. My soul knew all along what had happened, and I didn't know until my child's life was now on the line. Not till then did the part of me where God lives rear up. And snot started coming out of my nose and started to throw up. All of a sudden, images saved up, locked and stored till a time when I was strong enough to deal with them. My mom slamming my hands in the door and hitting me with a hammer. That's where the abdominal injury came from. And I remember my hand being pushed into an exposed light socket. And I distinctly remember her pulling her hand away before my hand went in. And she had tortured me for, I guess, a number of years. But that wasn't all. My brain was saving one more thing for me. The thing that Dr. K kept coming back to with me was that I color-coded all my characters. From the time you were a child, you would think the color or you would feel it. I would say I would feel it. And what color was Porky the Pig? Yellow. Bugs the Bunny. Aqua. You color-coded all of them, but you never used red. Obviously, I have an aversion to red. Where was red in your world when you were growing up? Dr. K is breaking it down, saying, well, where's the red coming from? Where in your life was there red? There had to be red somewhere. And then towards the end, as the flashbacks got more sophisticated, then it was like, I don't know if it was a window, it was in a square, so he sort of took the leap and went, red in a square. It says right here, doctors 39 through 35, you said there was a red coming through the window. There has to be red somewhere. There has to be a window somewhere. Help me, help me. Red. Where was red? There was a hibiscus bush. Hibiscus bush. In the window, no doubt. It's on your tongue. My tongue. No, 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 no. I don't know. And I ran into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and there was a little cut in the middle of my tongue, just kind of winking out at me. And I started hearing the sound of wind rushing. And I went back out there and I said, I don't know what that is. We both acted like something else was occurring. You know, she's like, stand here. She spoke in a sweet, motherly, musical tone.
You just open you open your mouth and you do that. Okay. Plop.
Is that where we used to sit when we were kids? Came every week for, I don't know, how many years. My mom, she was loved and admired. She was that angel, and then her eyes would change, and it was like someone else was looking out of her skull at you. Like, you would look at me and it would be your eyes, but it wouldn't be your eyes. It'd be someone else in there, you know? And she had that. I'm probably the only one that really saw that. After I got stabbed, I went to live in an apartment complex about a mile from here where my grandparents live. I'll never forget eating cream corn that night. Cream corn, because I couldn't chew food. And remember, I threw it up because I didn't chew it. Plus, I'd swallowed a lot of blood. She was only contained and she had to reroute. She had to reroute her dark energies. She just went about being destructive in a different way. Where I come from, the archenemy, the fiend, is the truth. The whole idea that someone does these terrible things to you and expects you not to tell, they just expect it, is astonishing. And I've said, and will always say, the worst crime is being expected not to tell. When someone is abusing someone, torturing them, or raping them, they want the person they're doing it to act like something else is occurring.
If you cannot tell the truth, you need to lock that reality away. And that reality starts festering inside of you. It becomes what Freud's already said, a splinter in your mind, a splinter in your brain, a splinter in your soul that starts festering. And so anything that cannot be spoken becomes an internal danger to yourself.
Had someone bothered to stop what was happening to me, someone could have said, your son sits on the railroad tracks and I want to talk to you. Or, your son has abdominal injuries again and I want to talk to you. I didn't have to cut myself 49 times in my life. I have 49.
See, when I was about 7, I discovered that my mother could talk like other people. To me, it seemed like she actually became them. She seemed enraptured by it. And it was the only time I saw her laugh freely. So I started asking her to do voices. And one day she was listening to a record, a Christmas carol. She started to talk like the record.
Merry Christmas, Uncle. God save you.
Humbug. And a few days later, I walked up to her while she was playing the piano, Tchaikovsky's Sixth Symphony, as usual. And I tapped her on the shoulder. And I said, ha ha, Merry Christmas, Uncle. And then I said, bah, humbug. She stopped playing and she turned to me and she said, do that again. Merry Christmas, Uncle. The love that she pointed toward the rest of the world all the time was aimed right at me now. And I thought, I'm on to something here. The last thing she said to me was, you were always my good buddy, before checking to see if anyone was watching. Otherwise, if they hadn't been watching, she would have said, like, this is one of your personalities. Like, that's her voice. She would have a southern accent, and then the voice would drop. Is this one of your personalities? And I was like, did you see that? Did you guys see that? Did you? She wouldn't make that mistake.
When your reality is not allowed to be seen and to be known, that is the trauma. When people have a memory of trauma, they see the face of the person.
They smell the smell of the rapist. They feel the horrifying feelings in their body. I said it's an undigested memory. The sounds are still there and are stored somewhere, and the visual imprint is stored somewhere, and certain triggers can reinstate those sounds or those images. And you hear them again, and you see them again. So these are not really memories. These are just is an activation of a fragment of something of the past.
As a child, I can't look at that. I can't look at that person walking over here with a knife or a hammer and say, my mom's gonna stab me. And she's gonna leave me in a park in Jacksonville. When you're 5, you can't see that, or you'll die. It's the brain's brilliant response to things it can't handle. They looked at my brain once on this brain imagery thing. They showed both sides of my brain. The left side of my brain was virtually dark. The right side of my brain was Times Square. I mean, and I was like, why don't I have any lights on this left side of my brain? The guy goes, that is the side of your brain that is for logic, perspective, organization.
Natural parts of the body having to do with immune system start breaking down, so you get more prone to develop immune illnesses. Your body is a constant state of agitation, so you're more likely to develop heart disease. You hate your body and you hate what happens in your body, so you're more likely to become obese. You don't care about yourself because nobody cares about you, so you don't take care of yourself, and you're more likely to become HIV positive and to inject yourself with drugs and to assault other people. This is largely reducible to child abuse.
Trauma and alcoholism are first cousins. I've had 4 great trauma doctors now. They've all given me percentages, and the percentages vary a little, but the percentages are super high, you know, according to statistics from, for instance, Betty Ford or Hazelton. That, oh, by the way, you're an alcoholic or you're a drug addict and you've been drinking for years. Oh, and by the way, surprise, surprise, you have trauma, and it's probably emotional trauma, physical trauma, and just as often as not, it's non-consensual sex that's blowing these nervous systems out of the water.
Inhale and exhale.
Apparently, the issues are in the tissues. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry that ever did you wrong is still in your system. All those experiences.
We know how to treat trauma. That's very important. It's not like we have no alternatives, let me just take drugs. By doing things like yoga and mindfulness meditation can actually rewire the brain. Engaging your own body is an absolutely necessary part of healing. You cannot be passive and sit in a chair and not take care of your body and truly heal from trauma.
I love how you're directing that breath. Full, generous breathing.
There is not one answer. Everybody needs to discover what the answer is for them and what the right method is for them.
I started coming here so I can start to sleep.
What keeps you up?
I don't know, hypervigilance. It could happen again. 5 of 7 nights, I'm sleeping. It's a miracle.
Namaste.
What does that mean? The divine in me salutes the divine in you.
Do you think there is such a place?
Do you see her? Okay, see you in a little while.
All right. How are you, sir?
Doing wonderful. I'm good. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure. Nice to see you.
You mentioned that you've been wanting to talk about this experience for a good long while, yet it's only been about 2 or 3 years since you've really been able to talk about it.
Yeah.
What has that experience been like?
It feels great. Recently, a woman in Sarasota came to me, like in tears, and said that my book saved her daughter's life. Well, you know, that's, I've met and performed for 4 American presidents, and those are high honors. But it's kind of hard to top someone who's been so bad at so many things simply by telling that story, and then someone gets to live. And I remember when my father was dying, it was like a military funeral, I was so proud. And I thought, oh, you know what, I'm gonna write that book. I'm gonna do it, you know?
At your dad's funeral?
Oh yeah, because I was like, I felt like anyone that's ever known, I teared up. I was really trying not to be. Okay. If you've ever known a soldier, you know, someone has to do that job. Same with cops. You know, I've had my life saved by cops since I was on SNL. I mean, one of the reasons why I had to leave is what?
I'm just gonna move you onto the VIP.
Oh, God. All right.
Sorry, guys. It's okay. We have one more thing that's gonna go to.
Sorry, you guys.
No worries. He's mad at me now. He's mad at me because I stopped the conversation.
Trying to tell my story, and she's moving me onto the VIP reception. I mean, that's all I have is my story. I ain't telling my fucking story to nobody. You know, forget it. Don't care about me, don't care about the story. It's are hard stories to tell, man. Your story's not important.
Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, your story's, it's not no story. Take your top off. To have something happen where I think you disrespected me devastates you. But then I realized, you mean the world isn't ending? You mean I'm not dying? I'm not getting killed? All right, let's talk. Let's talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate you, and I'm sorry. Usually I do these events, and after a while they're like, all right, could you do Clinton? I remember one time we were at the White House, and Bill said, hi, Hillary, come over here and take a picture with your 2 husbands. And she shot him a look, and my water broke. This doctor said to me, mental illness is not an airborne virus. And this guy would say, and I don't really even want you to say mental illness. I want you to say mental injury. Let's tell the whole story. You're not this way by accident. I never got to love a woman in a normal way. Sleep was impossible for me because I woke up screaming. There were nightmares. I was a food addict. I couldn't eat food. I couldn't eat food, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't love. To wake up one morning and not be afraid, wow, 50 years, scared, 50 years, and not now.
Very, very moving talk, and one who's not afraid to let other people know the trials and tribulations of life.
Thank you.
And so it's my pleasure to proclaim today is Darrell Hammond Day as the keynote speaker for the 60th anniversary celebration of Mental Health Association of Baton Rouge.
Thank you, sir. I'm so honored. Thank you.
I don't know what he may do with this one, you know, but I'd also like to make you an honorary mayor president of the city of Baton Rouge and parish of East Baton Rouge.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Listen, it's about like being king and pope. What do you mean acclimatized?
Get used to it. My first thought was, what is he talking about? I lived in that house. Literally. I was with him. I was with them. I thought he was making it up. This is a Ramon Martinez mitt.
I can't quite put...
Whose name is on
How
that?
do you loosen this up?
It was really sort of shattering some images of growing up that I didn't want shattered. You close your eyes, you try to picture it, and I can't. Kara could have used that for a softball. She might have. I have some things that I've always wanted to talk to you about, just between us, about the things that happened in the past. For me to get some closure in my mind. So how much do we need to talk in front of the cameras? Is this just go ahead and just act like they're not?
You can give us 5 minutes, right? Well, we could find 5 minutes another time today.
I mean, if it's going to mean something in this documentary.
Well, talk.
Then
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
But the day that I picked up the newspaper in Melbourne and read about the abuse that you had suffered at the hands of your parents, the article wasn't specific, but nonetheless, I was as shocked as any person could be.
Right.
Is it conceivable that someone could talk to Darrell about this and actually implant that thought in his mind that may not really have ever happened?
You know, it's what this doctor said. I remember saying to him when I left this hospital, I was like, how do you know I didn't make this whole thing up? And he said that children from healthy homes don't make up stories like that about their parents.
Okay. I'm thinking to myself, why do I not? Why is there no? It's hard to describe.
Why is there no what?
No, why have I no any kind of? Why have I not seen any of that? Why have I not seen it?
Why would you see it? It's not something that's going to happen in front of you or anybody else. People that do stuff like that, coach Little League, teach school, volunteer as the Gray Ladies, know the Bible. I mean, they do all those things. You know, they even cry. And then they have this thing that they have to do to balance themselves out. And that was her. I'll show you some of my scars. You can see, wow. You know, I have them on my legs, my stomach, my chest. This was the first one. And you don't even know why you're doing it. For some people that do it, it's a way of creating a more manageable crisis than the one that's going on in your head. And others, it's a precise reenactment of rape. So if anyone would say, oh, that didn't happen,
you know, someone needs to pay attention to these children who cut themselves.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for no reason. They're reenacting. That's a sign. That's a signpost. That's like, something's happening in this house. I can't protect myself. You're an adult. Do something. Do something. This is a crime against nature. Okay, I committed against myself. Won't you ask me why?
What I've never shared with you is my visit to your parents that very day that I read the newspaper. And I went in and I guess I just looked at them and said, what's going on? And the reaction that I got from your mom was something I'd never thought I'd hear from her. Mm-hmm. In a mood that I thought I'd never see out of her. Mm-hmm. She was truly a different human being to me in those moments, frightfully. And your father, he was just the opposite. He was calm. He was, when your mom said things like, he's dead to me, well, to me, it was a slight admission of guilt. And when I heard it,
oh yeah,
I had to sort out where I thought this was coming from, and all of a sudden, it was clear right there in your living room.
Yeah.
You know, I look at Max and I look at Marge, and I'm going, wow.
I'm glad you had the conversation.
I'm glad that we got a chance to get together.
Is that anything close to what you wanted to say?
Yes, it is. It's right on the money. Tell me about your daughter.
Well, her mom and me got in a pretty brutal divorce, and we were separated.
Right.
Hadn't seen her in about 5 years. She's 18 years old now.
Okay.
She recently started texting me.
That's good.
It's awesome to love someone so much. That love is perfect by itself. No conditions. This arm will probably crack and break into ice.
I would suggest a few rudimentary stretching exercises. One I will suggest is if you extend your arm, extend it out, and try to push out like you're trying to almost push out of the joint. Just slow.
Sticks and stones can break bones. Silence kills the unknown. But somehow I'm still here. Mirror, mirror, just one sign. Though it's cracked, it's still mine. And somehow I'm still here. Into the light, heal my aching heart. Into the
The nurse called me on my cell phone that day and said, your father will probably won't be around tomorrow. He took himself off his morphine, and so he wouldn't die, because he was afraid he'd go to sleep permanently.
Yeah.
So we get there the next day, and he has his war medals on his chest, and he was saying, I'm sorry I wasn't a better dad. Sorry. I just told him how proud I was. You know what I mean? I'm sorry.
Trauma is usually about the victim trying to make amends for the perpetrator. The most important thing is forgiveness of yourself for having been as vulnerable, as scared, as angry, as frozen as you were. And forgiving yourself for all the ways you have tried to survive. So just take care of that. Just learn to forgive yourself for all the things you have done in order to survive. That's a big job.
So you want to see where your parents are
Yeah,
positioned?
if possible.
I have their ashes deposited here.
It's funny, I was drawn to this area. I woke up at 3:30 a.m. and I'd been having this dream. And then in the dream, there was a little girl standing outside my window in the snow. And she was helpless and she was shivering and crying and afraid. And there was something very peculiar about her and about her eyes. They belonged to my mother. She was that little girl outside the window, helpless, being tortured and beaten, and turned into an animal. A pure human being before someone ever did to her what she did to me. The difference between my mother and I was that I had this maid, Myrtis, who would love me between bouts with my mother. On a really deep level, I'm not that happy with the way things have turned out sometimes. The tragedy in my life is I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I lost relationships with people because I didn't know how to do them. Of all the things on this earth that I'm gonna not be good at, you know, it's gonna be trying to love someone or live with someone. I didn't understand relationships, so I reenacted. What is a reenactment? As children, we will model and one day reproduce what we see in front of us. Just wiring that came from childhood. If you have abandonment issues or trauma background, I've discovered in my relationships the only thing that was really real was what we weren't saying, which is that I'm gonna get abandoned here and fucked over pretty soon. So let me do a preemptive strike. Let me get really loud, punching holes in doors, and veins gotta get distended on the forehead, and stomp and romp and walk out the door and disappear. You can't just sit down and go, hey, can we talk for a second? I just have a little bit of a problem. No, I can't do that. I think it's important to see a qualified trauma therapist treating trauma as opposed to other, maybe less serious conditions. It doesn't hurt that I'm on a patch of road where I haven't been doing these alcoholic reenactment 3-day binges in which I clear everybody out of my life and leave theirs. What I work for is symptom-free, where you don't feel paranoid or frightened or ill or unsafe or greedy or any need to be dishonest or cheat or do anything aberrant, where you're just being. Maybe having a hamburger, you know, symptom-free.
Today is opening night of the Darrell Hammond Project. World premiere, in fact.
The Darrell Hammond Project is based on his memoir.
I think people will be surprised to see a very candid side of Hammond's personal life.
Did you want to preview the others? Standing by.
You get hit by a car, you're not ashamed. You're struggling mentally, you get ashamed. It's silly, you know. Something happened to me. I'm not ashamed of it.
Kendra, are you coming up?
Trauma. It's a condition that isn't as bad as it used to be because it's been treated effectively, but it has to keep being treated. It's that kind of condition. You know, when you say something is symptomatic, progressive, and fatal, you're talking about a number of illnesses, you know, that kill effectively, and trauma's one.
I used to think life wasn't worth living, and now I think it's pretty fucking cool. And I care about other people now. Not really, but a little bit. No, I do a little bit. I do a little bit. Still, I know that one day I'm gonna be in my deathbed, many years from now, hopefully surrounded by loved ones. And then I'll say, "Nurse, why don't you give me my morphine?" The nurse will say, "All right." And then she'll pause and she'll say, "Can you say, give me my morphine again?" I'll say, "Give me my morphine?" She'll say, "Yeah." Now, say it like Bill Clinton.
This is where I would hear the airplanes every night. My mother would recite Little Orphan Annie sometimes in the door. Little Orphan Annie got chopped up. So, this was right where I stood. Right here, facing that way. She stood right there. There's the drawers where the knives were. Made me stick my tongue out, made me be quiet. Stood there for a while, and then she just popped me with the knife. And all I could hear was the hibiscus bush. It would occasionally blow against the window, making thumping sounds. And the floor was like that kind of floor, and it was all red. Like, it seemed like, you know, in my mind's eye anyway. I think, you know, most, you know, memories like that appear as photos, like snapshots. They're not a steady stream of clear images. The drawer is clear. There's the light socket. And I don't feel triggered or anything. I mean, I've prepared for this for 40 years to stand in this room again.
these doctors were so afraid for me to come back in this house. And yet, walking back into it, under these conditions, is about the most empowering thing I can think of. And I rarely feel empowered. But no, I'm on my own 2 feet. I've done a lot of stuff in my life. And it makes me feel like I won. But, you know, I'm hobbled significantly. It's like I got a limp. You know, I have these frailties as a result of it. But I won. Just a house. Now it's just a house.
Sleeves, it's 100 degrees, but it covers up what is underneath. Sunglasses on, but there's no sun outside. You say the reason is 'cause the light hurts your eyes, and you walked into a door again last night. Funny how that keeps on happening when they ask, you just lied about it, and you had the hurt, and you had the pain. When they ask how you doing, you say you're okay, with the tears and lies cover all the scars, and they won't see how broken you are. Keep it in, keep it in. Don't let nothing show. Keep it in, so no one will know. Keep it in, hide it away. In school, he just keeps to himself. He goes home every day to a home that is hell. Learn not to fight and you learn not to fear, but the bruises inside are the ones that don't heal, and they hit you more the more you ask them why. And you're too ashamed to tell a soul when they ask about it. You don't talk about it, and you had the hurt, and you had the pain. When they ask how you doing, you say you're okay, but the tears and lies cover all the scars. They won't see how broken you are, but soon there'll be a day